Imagine you are standing in a crowd of people, dozens of faces, movement everywhere, noise, competing smells, and your dog, across that crowd, unable to hear your voice, unable to smell you clearly, scans the faces and finds yours. Can they actually do that? The answer, according to a growing body of research into canine visual cognition, is yes, but the how behind it is far more interesting than the simple yes suggests, because the way your dog recognizes your face is not quite the way you would expect, and what it reveals about how they experience you specifically is one of the more remarkable things behavioral science has uncovered in recent years. Today, we are going into all of it. Dogs and faces. The baseline. For a long time, the assumption in an animal cognition research was that dogs were primarily scent-driven animals who used visual information as a secondary input. Useful, but not the dominant channel through which they understood their world, that assumption has been substantially revised. Research from the University of Helsinki's Dog Cognition Center used eye-tracking technology to study precisely where dogs direct their visual attention when shown images of human and dog faces. The findings established something important. Dogs are not visually indiscriminate. They attend to faces specifically, and they attend to different parts of faces depending on what they are trying to read. When shown human faces, dogs focus their gaze on the eyes and the mouth, the regions that carry the most emotionally diagnostic information. This gaze pattern mirrors, with notable similarity, how humans look at human faces. Dogs are not simply responding to a general shape or a movement cue. They are doing something that looks meaningfully like reading a face, and they are doing it every time they look at you. Every day, in every room, across every ordinary interaction, building a database of your face and its expressions that accumulates over the entire course of your shared life. The recognition, research. The more specific question, can your dog recognize your face as distinct from other human faces, has been examined directly in several studies, and the results are compelling. A study published in Animal Cognition presented dogs with photographs of their owner's face alongside photographs of unfamiliar human faces, and asked whether dogs could reliably distinguish between them. Dogs selected their owner's face at rates significantly above chance, demonstrating that visual face recognition of a specific individual is within the dog's cognitive capability. But the more interesting research went further. What happens when you remove all the contextual cues, the voice, the scent, the familiar body posture, and leave only the face? Researchers addressed this by presenting dogs with photographs of their owner's face that had been digitally altered to remove hair, clothing context, and other identifying features beyond the face itself. Dogs still showed a recognition response, orienting toward their owner's image with measurably higher attention and arousal than toward unfamiliar faces. The recognition was not dependent on contextual cues. The face itself was doing meaningful work. This finding is more significant than it might initially appear. It means that the recognition your dog has of you is not simply a package of associated cues. Your voice, plus your smell, plus your clothing, plus a vague visual impression. Your face itself, isolated from everything else, is something your dog has encoded specifically enough to distinguish from other human faces with above-chance reliability. How they read it differently than we do here is where it gets genuinely interesting. Dogs recognize human faces, but they do not do it using the same cognitive mechanism humans use. Human face recognition relies heavily on holistic processing, the brain treating the face as a unified whole rather than a collection of individual features. This is why the inverted face effect exists in humans. Turning a face upside down dramatically disrupts recognition because it interferes with holistic processing. Dogs show a significantly weaker inverted face effect than humans. When shown upside down photographs of their owner's face, dogs show more disruption to recognition than humans would with an upside-down human face, but less than you would expect if they were relying on the same holistic mechanism. This suggests dogs may rely more on individual feature recognition, processing specific elements of the face, particularly the eye region, rather than integrating the face as a single gestalt. They are reading a face the way someone might read a sign, attending to specific elements and assembling a recognition from their combination rather than perceiving the whole at once. This may be one reason why dogs sometimes fail to recognize owners who have dramatically changed their appearance, shaved a beard, significantly changed hairstyle, put on a hat, or sunglasses. The contextual and scent information that normally supplements visual recognition fills in these gaps, but in purely visual context, the changed feature can genuinely disrupt their recognition. If your dog has ever seemed momentarily uncertain about you after a significant appearance change, this is the mechanism behind it. Not confusion about your identity in a broad sense, just a disruption to the specific visual feature set their recognition template is built from. The emotional reading layer. Recognizing that a face belongs to you is one thing. What dogs do with that recognition is another, and it is where the research becomes genuinely extraordinary. Dogs do not just identify your face, they read it. Research from Lincoln University in the UK, and separately from teams at the University of Helsinki, established that dogs can accurately read human emotional expressions across faces. Happiness, anger, fear, and sadness producing reliably different recognition responses in dogs. And this ability applies not just to familiar faces, but with somewhat lower accuracy to unfamiliar ones as well. But the accuracy is highest with the specific faces the dog knows best. Your face, which they have observed across thousands of interactions in dozens of emotional states, is a face they have been studying for the entire duration of your shared life. They have more data on the specific way your mouth moves when you are happy, the specific quality of your eye expression when you are tired, the particular facial pattern that precedes you reaching for the leash or the food bowl, than any other human face they encounter. Your face is, in the most literal sense, the face they are most expert in reading. They are not processing it the way a stranger would process it. They are processing it the way someone who has spent years studying a subject processes new information in that field, with a depth of pattern recognition that makes subtle signals immediately legible in a way they would not be to anyone less experienced. What the reward response reveals. One of the most revealing pieces of research on how dogs process their owner's face used fMRI scanning to examine what happens in the dog's brain when they see familiar versus unfamiliar human faces. The study found that the caudate nucleus, or region of the brain associated with anticipation of reward and positive emotional experience, showed greater activation in response to familiar human faces than to unfamiliar ones. Your face, presented to your dog visually, activates a reward response in their brain, not just a recognition response, a reward response. This means your dog does not simply identify your face as familiar. Seeing your face produces a neurological state associated with positive anticipation, similar to what happens when they anticipate food, play, or other genuinely valued experiences. You are, to your dog's brain, in the same neural category as good things. Your face is not just recognized, it is anticipated, it is wanted. This has a practical implication that is worth sitting with. Every time you walk into a room, the dog that sees your face is experiencing a neurological reward event. Not a big one, not every time, but a consistent, real, repeated activation of the circuitry associated with positive anticipation. Your face has been paired with enough good things, enough consistency, enough warmth, enough reliable safety, that it has become a reward predictive stimulus in the most direct neurological sense. In a crowd, what actually happens? Returning to the original question, can your dog find your face in a crowd? The answer the research supports is a qualified yes, with important context. Under normal conditions, your dog is not relying on visual face recognition alone to find you. They are running a multi-channel search. Scent, which is the most reliable and the one they default to first. Sound, specifically your voice and your distinctive footfall pattern. And visual information, which they add to the picture as they narrow the search. In a crowd where scent is disrupted by competing smells and sound by competing noise, the visual channel becomes more important. And what the research tells us is that dogs can, in that context, use face-specific information to distinguish their owner from other humans, though with lower accuracy than when all channels are available simultaneously. The multi-channel nature of how dogs recognize us is itself worth appreciating. It means the recognition your dog has of you is not fragile or dependent on any single input. It is robust, built from multiple overlapping systems, each of which can carry the load when others are compromised. You are not a single cue to your dog. You are a convergence of them, a pattern that is recognizable through smell, sound, movement, and face simultaneously, each channel confirming what the others suggest. What is not in question is that your face specifically, of all the human faces they have encountered, is the one their brain has built the deepest recognition template for, the one that activates reward circuitry, the one they have been studying in all its emotional variations since the day you met. Your dog knows your face, not as a shape, not as a context cue, as something their brain has been building a model of since the first time they looked at you. Drop a comment, I read every single one. Subscribe, new video every week. See you next time.